Hello, my name is naturopath Dr. Max Robin Starsman. I'm a safari medic, I'm a malaria medic, I'm a patent holder of snake antidotes we produce in Turkey, and oral snake antidotes are effective against malaria, HIV, leukemia, hepatitis, and nowadays also COVID-19, but we'll get to that in a minute because that's a ticklish subject. I'm German, South American, of Abyssinian Egyptian descent, more actually Guyanese descent in South America. I live in Turkey due to my profession and due to the history of my job. Snake antidotes and the symbol of snake antitoxin on every pharmacy, which is a serpent symbol, came to Europe through Turkey. At that time it was Greece, and Queen Cleopatra VII brought this symbol to Europe, to Greece at the time, the city of Smyrna. Today it's called Izmir, and that's how the serpent symbol of pharmacy and medicine came to Europe. Europe does not really have cobras and snakes and black mambas and kraits, and of course snake antitoxin is also effective against tarantula bites and rat poison and food poison and gas poison, gas bombs and things like these. The snake antidote cures malaria, as we just said, COVID-19, HIV, hepatitis, leukemia, and can cure cancer if caught at the right time. So no euphoria, because if you cannot catch the cancer at the right time, it doesn't work. The same goes for snake bite. If you take a snake antidote too late, you will still die from the snake bite. The better thing is to actually have your snake antidote before you go on a holiday, let's say on a safari or to a tropical country where malaria is, because oral snake antitoxin is more effective against malaria. Within 2 days, it's gone. Yeah. The serpent symbol of pharmacy, as we just said, stands for snake antidote, and the snake symbol came from ancient Egypt and was first introduced, as we just said, by Cleopatra VII. I live in Turkey, so it's important to my job. Police military forensics lab code is very important in toxicology and also in virology, particularly if you know that virology is not admissible by court. That's a ruling of the Hague, which decided that you cannot penally prosecute anybody who did not wear a condom and infected somebody with HIV, because the HIV infection is not really provable sexually. In fact, in chemical code, HIV stands for hyperinsulin volume, and AIDS is the other spectrum, meaning acidic insulin deficiency sulfurization. So if you know this, then we are on a dialogue, because it helps us to understand what the COVID-19 pandemic really is. Coming to COVID-19, coronavirus is actually known in chemistry as the corona sulfur molecule. It's an S8 sulfur molecule. It's called corona because of its spiked appearance. It looks like a crown under the microscope, and also how it's depicted in lab code. And this is why it's called corona. Now, the coronavirus is a sulfur which destroys your insulin level. So you're more likely to be associated with the acidic group of diseases. The orthorhombic formation of the sulfur S8 molecule is orthorhombic. So an orthorexia is when you have a pre-diabetic condition which removes the insulin pH value of your lungs, and you begin to cough and you get a high fever because your body actually suffers an acidosis attack. So on the other hand, HIV is different in that it is a hyperinsulin volume. Your insulin volume is higher due to HPV, which is also sulfur, because it first melts your body fats, creates a high insulin, whereby an overdose of acid, let's say nitrogen, in alkaline water, in beer, in an alkaline diet, if you're vegan or vegetarian, you're likely to be the first victim of COVID-19 if you think that eating fat, cholesterol, salt and sugar is bad for you. You cannot be eating too clean, or else you'll damage yourself. So this is actually the big question mark that many normal people don't understand. Many diabetics come to us and say, oh, we have never had diabetes in our family, but there's a case. That person, when we diagnose them or we have a dialogue with them, they say, I eat clean, I eat very clean. I don't eat sugar, I don't eat salt, I don't eat fat, I don't eat meat. I'm a vegan, I'm vegetarian, I do sports every day, I drink mainly water. And that's why they have orthorexia. Because you're not supposed to eat imbalanced, whether it is fat-wise, or iron-wise, or sugar-wise. Everything in a balanced connection is good for you, but everything can also kill you. So when we examine the blood documents of our patients, we try to group them in two groups. One, overweight and normal weight, and two, underweight and skinny. So this is how we also group COVID-19 patients, and that's how it's supposed to be done. You're not supposed to give a hydroxychloroquine to a skinny patient or they'll die, obviously, because malaria is a high insulin leukemia hepatitis all in one, and you use the chloroquine to destroy the hyperinsulin volume. If somebody has COVID-19 from a nitrogen poisoning, they are going to have heart palpitation or a heart attack if they take a hydroxychloroquine. So yes, there have been 2 different studies saying hydroxychloroquine was damaging, yes, to underweight patients. But it was a boon to people who were overweight or normal weight and had coronavirus. They got out of the hospital after 5 days. So it's important that we understand that the serpent symbol of pharmacy has a science, a very old science attached to it, in which we have snakes in 3 grouping. Not all snake poisons work with the same antidote. So for instance, we have hemotoxins, then you can use a normal snake antidote, ferric snake antidote. Then we have neurotoxins, you can also use a ferric snake antidote. Then we have cytotoxins, in which you've got to be very careful which antidote you're going to use, because that's a sulfur-based attack from a vermin, a snake. So we actually have to know which snake bit, because that's the grouping of the diseases we have today. We've always had them. People are asking, well, we're wearing masks every day due to the coronavirus. We're sitting in buses, we can hardly breathe. The windows are shut because they're afraid that the virus comes through the window and all that. It's a big consternation. So people are actually asking, why isn't my dog needing to wear a mask? Why isn't my cat needing to wear a mask? I have a bird at home. In fact, the birds aren't falling from the sky. Now, Ankara, where I live, there are lots of birds. There are tree-lined avenues, a beautiful city, very, very clean city. You will not see a rat or a roach. Garbage is emptied every evening. They actually come to your door to collect your garbage. It's a tea-drinking culture. They are picobello in their habits. So, likewise, the coronavirus cases remained low, a little higher than China, but basically being a tea-drinking culture, and tea has tannic acid, and to a small degree, a little bit of quinine is inside of black tea, particularly if you drink it the way Asians drink it. Of course, if you drink it the way British people drink it, then you'll understand why the high COVID numbers are hitting London. So we've got to be sensible about how we diagnose our patients, because if you don't read their blood readings first, then you will not know what to do. So just like with HIV, you cannot continue treating somebody with HIV with antiretroviral drugs when they begin to lose their insulin level and become diabetic, which is a side effect of ARVs, but also it is a symptom of a person who is transitioning from HIV to AIDS, because AIDS is acidic insulin deficiency sulfurization. HIV is hyperinsulin volume. Get that straight. And another thing that we've got to deal with, no, LGBT people are not more prone to COVID-19 or HIV or any of these diseases, just as they're not more prone to malaria when they go on holiday. They're just like everybody else, and in fact, the moment we start to stigmatize people through the UNAIDS virus, which is what it's now called, you're ignoring the ruling of the Hague of 1987, in which it says you're not supposed to penalize anybody who did not wear a condom and has not admitted their HIV status to their sex partner. So why this is the case is because a hyperinsulin volume can come from any kind of thing. Taking cocaine, avoiding sugar and eating too much fat and cholesterol and eating lots of salt, having a high sodium diet. And many people don't even know what a high sodium diet is. They don't even know that eating lots of spices and drinking black tea can also cause a high sodium diet, can cause hair loss. We have patients of all kinds coming to us saying, my dad has strong hair growth, but I'm his son and I'm losing my hair at age 25. What is going on? Nobody in my family is having this problem. It's because it's modern to be vegan and vegetarian, but it can also damage your health if you don't know what you're doing. You don't come from India, you don't know how to eat vegan. If you want to learn to eat vegan, go to India, find out. Ayurveda or Chinese Shen medicine is extremely important because it teaches you how to eat. So if you're Western and you want to be vegan, go to the people who can teach you how to do it. It does not mean, oh, quit all protein. Because there are protein sources also in vegan life that you've got to bear in mind, or else you're going to kill yourself. You're going to become barren. You won't be able to be pregnant. You get pregnancy diabetes. You're not going to be able to do your work. So it's important that if we try to understand what acidosis and what high insulin is, or overt insulin is, and why both spectrums can cause cancer, you're not going to say, I'm going to be vegan so that I will not get cancer, because a lot of vegans are getting a worse cancer than people who eat meat. So it's a chemical question whereby every patient has got to be dealt with specific to their case. You cannot use a paintbrush stroke for everyone. So the medical profession, and particularly virology, is not being all too honest, because basically they will still be making money, they'll still be making lots of money if they just stick to the facts. You don't have to sell a treatment for millions of dollars and then you have your own citizens going to India because chemotherapy is cheaper in Delhi or Mumbai. And this is what's happening in Turkey. There's a lot of medical tourism. They come to Turkey because it's cheaper to be treated medically here. And they also go to places like China. Why? Because the EU has overpriced medical treatments. And there's, like in Germany, the government demands from you that you pay into the state welfare health insurance. You cannot decide, I will not pay this month. And the money that you've got to pay is high. If you're self-employed or if you're an employed person, it's how it is. Okay, it's a security for you, but you've got to bear in mind that the reason for the Brexit is that the prices for treatments are too high. Taxation or the top-heavy euro, top-heavy US dollar is causing an economic problem. I wouldn't say that it's the coronavirus causing this problem. It's been so for a while that Eastern currencies are lower. You can buy better products, higher services with a higher quality for less. So the economic climate is not attributed to COVID-19. It is attributed to the top-heavy nature of currencies in the West. And excuse my criticism, but I do feel that pharmacology is not being honest. It's not all said because, we're not all going to live forever. None of us will. And we're going to die someday. There is no sure train track through veganism or meat eating or being in the middle or shifting left to right. It's a nature of biology that you have to understand the responses of your body and how your body reacts to what you're eating. So when people drink a lot in a bar and they're a vegetarian or they do a lot of sports and they want to have a ripped body, they reduce their insulin levels so much until they look dry, it's going to cause you to be the first victim of COVID-19. And this is why we've got to split our patients into groups. That's the only way forward. But there is not going to be any vaccine because the vaccines don't make sense. You cannot inject everybody because everybody has a different oil culture, culinary culture. They live in a tropical climate where their insulin level dissipates. You cannot inject a sulfurous vaccine or an insulin vaccine. It will be destroyed by the first time you get your malaria or a snake bite. Vaccines are not financially viable because vaccines can be destroyed by a natural assailant like carbon monoxide poisoning, acid poisoning, nitrogen poisoning, snake poison, malaria, hepatitis, leukemia, food poisoning. So there's no vaccine against a chemical bomb. There's no vaccine against malaria, will never be. There's no vaccine against a food poisoning. If you've had tetanus injections, you go to the jungle, you can still get it. So I've lived 9 years in the jungle. I'm 49 years old. I've had every kind of tropical disease going through my body while I was in the jungle. I've had malaria 8 times. Nobody can tell me, oh, snake antitoxins aren't effective. Because I've been bitten by a green mamba, and we had a Brazilian snake antitoxin just 2 meters away in our medical storage, and I was lucky to drink it. Of course, we did not know if the snake really had any poison. I didn't feel any effects whatsoever, but that's normal for green mamba until 15 to 20 minutes later you become drowsy. I didn't. I was lucky. I used a snake antitoxin from Brazil. So this is also the reason why God is logical. God made the poisonous serpent and the antidote. And if you're clever, you will think about protecting yourself before you enter any danger zone. And so when you are a drug addict and you take an oral ferric snake antitoxins, you can reduce the effects of the drug addiction, you can control your smoking habit, you will have less of a need to grab the next cigarette. It's just all good, but it's not a cure-all because snake antitoxins in an overdose can also kill you. So we test each patient before we administer anything. And that being said, I hope that you understand why snake antitoxins exist, why they work. If you have any other questions, you see the URL down on the screen. Contact us and we'll be able to give you a free appraisal of the medications you're on, whether they might pose a problem for you, but we also examine how you eat and how you live. Sorry, but it's necessary, so don't keep certain facts a secret, like if you're, let's say, you take barbiturates or you take cocaine on the weekend. Don't keep that a secret, because then our treatment of you will not work. So just be honest. Sad that the medical profession is so greedy. We're not. We have Asian and African prices, Indian prices. We don't support the European pricing of medication because there are millions of people who are sick, and overpopulation might be a big global problem, but this is why China has a child rate law, and we think that it makes no sense to criminalize LGBT people who don't have any kids. It makes, particularly in countries like Africa or certain Asian countries where the LGBT community are being persecuted or not given their full rights, it's just important that you understand everybody is prone to the same sicknesses. It does not matter your race, your sexuality, or the family you come from, or the country you come from, but your climate, where you live, plays a big role in how sick you are, what sicknesses you get. You cannot use Western medicine always on people who live in the tropics. It's just not possible. So, that being said, I rest my case. I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.